There's a certain tone that is appropriate for certain occasions or relationships. You know the tone you use when you speak to your mother. Your children know that tone. They know if you're talking to your mother on the telephone without hearing your mother's voice, because they reckon, oh, that tone? Yeah, she's talking to her mother. There's a certain tone that is appropriate when you speak to a customer, when you speak to your employer, or you speak to your employee. It's a different tone. When you speak to a friend, or you speak to an older, respected person, there's a different tone. The words might be exactly the same, but the tune is different. There's a tone that belongs to an adult. When an adult speaks to a child, there's a certain tone, there's a certain voice you use. Adult to child. There's a certain tone, parent to child. It's a different tune, different sound. When you sound like an adult, your child will resent it and will tune you out, even if you're giving him a bracha. If you sound like a parent, the child will love it, even if you're insulting him. That's the famous story. The Frierdiker Rebbe heard the Alter Rebbe reading the Teichacha. It sounded like a blessing. Why? Because it was in the tone of a father. So if we can maintain that tone, it would make a huge difference in our chinuch of our children. What is the tone of a parent? Or, of course, a parent can sound like an adult, but when is the parent using the unique voice that belongs only to a parent? The main difference between an adult child versus parent-child is that an adult reacts to a child. Any adult seeing a child misbehaving in shul will say something, but he's reacting. Only a parent will say something to a child because they've been thinking about it, because they decided yesterday to say this, because they thought yesterday that this is what they should say to the child, and now they're telling the child what they prepared to say yesterday. Only a parent would do that. Or a good teacher. The power that has, when your child senses that what you're saying now you were thinking about yesterday, that is so powerful. So if you want to discipline a child because he did something wrong or not good enough, if you want your discipline to be effective, do it tomorrow. 2 days later, on Shabbos. You wait for a moment when the child's in a great mood, everybody's in a good mood, nothing tense or unhappy is going on, and you sit down with your child and you say, remember on Wednesday when you said such and such? That was not right. You don't talk like that. The child is going to be so amazed that you've been thinking about it since Wednesday, that he has been on your mind since Wednesday, that you will never have to repeat yourself. That message will get through, guaranteed. Because number one, the child is pleasantly surprised. Number two, he's greatly complimented. You really been thinking about me since Wednesday? Number 3, you're talking to him when he's listening. You catch a kid misbehaving and you say, "What are you doing?" He's not listening anymore. He's just trying to survive. So he tunes you out and hopes to survive. That's it. It's a waste of time to say anything smart, wise, or precious, because he's not listening. You're sounding like an adult. He's tuned you out. But when you catch him in a good mood, and you sit down and say, "I got to tell you something," how can you do that? It's very powerful. So, a premeditated message, a premeditated statement, that only a parent would do. That's when you sound like a parent and not like an adult imposing his will on a child. As a child gets a little older, you have to start introducing the idea that everything you taught him is between him and the Eibishter, not between you and him. Because one thing that happens with teenagers is they take a look at their lives and they realize that they are doing your mitzvahs. They are practicing your Yiddishkeit. They are davening to your Eibishter. And so they quit. God forbid. So before that happens, you have to start suggesting that it's not my Yiddishkeit. It's your Yiddishkeit. I'm talking already about a 12, 13-year-old. So if my children would come home and say, "How come you can't even carry your key on Shabbos?" You're 13 years old? Why are you asking me? I don't know. You want to know? Go find out. It's your Eibishter, it's your mitzvah, it's your neshama. Find out. What do you want from me? It's not my Yiddishkeit. So you actually encourage the child to make it his own before he demands that he wants to do it on his own. Because the truth is, you also want him to do it on his own. You want it to be his Yiddishkeit, not yours. His Torah, not yours. Even if it's called Torah Simecha. But you want it to be his Torah. It's a very good idea. When a child becomes 13, 14 years old, start asking him shaylos. Your kid comes home from yeshiva, you say, "How come you're not allowed to put this into that if it's cold?" He's in yeshiva. Ask him like he's supposed to know, or he should go find out. That's chinuch, age appropriate.